everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies Podcast. We are talking Heartland again, and today we are looking at season 3, episodes 10, 11, and 12. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Michelle's here.
Hey everyone.
Yes, how are you doing?
Oh, Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it's January. What are you going to do? We have some pretty exciting episodes. Of course, they left it on a cliffhanger with the plane going down.
Yeah, Amy was saying last week that was like the mid-season finale. So we're quite lucky that we get to kind of binge all of these.
Oh yeah.
Wait.
That's true. That makes sense. So our first episode is episode 10, Eye of the Wolf. And in this episode, we have Ty and Scott are crashed, and they are trying to kind of survive. You also have Scott getting impaled by a piece of metal, and so Ty is the hero of this episode. And you also have the whole team at Heartland trying to decide what to do, and they decide to go up after them, and then Lou is upset, obviously, because of Scott and Ty, and also she, I guess, is not pregnant. She thought she was pregnant. She's not, so it's just making her think about Peter in a new way. And overall, what do you think of this episode?
Yeah, this has been one of my favorite episodes of the season, I think. They just had, it feels like only like they had 2 plots, but like I've got so many notes. It just felt like so much happened. And there's a lot of great character moments, particularly with Ty and Peter, and Scott. So yeah, I really like this episode. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a good one. And I was a little bit unsure of what would happen with Scott, because I didn't know if with Lou now being more invested in Peter, I thought, oh, are they gonna kill him off? And so I was definitely, I was anxious to see what was gonna happen.
Yeah, they did a really good kind of fake out. I actually did think he wasn't going to make it, but then I don't know. I think that would have just been far too tough on Ty.
Yeah, and they did a pretty good job of staging the plane. So I mean, they must have gotten pieces of a plane maybe from a junkyard or something. I don't know how they did that, but it looked pretty real.
Looked pretty real, and they definitely looked like they were in the middle of nowhere anyway.
Yeah,
they did a great job of like making them feel like they were.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think this show has that high of a budget, so they did a really good job with what they had.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it starts out, with Ty and Scott, and Ty wakes Scott up, and you see that he has this piece of metal in his leg. And that was definitely pretty grisly. And they look in the back of the plane, and the human first aid kit was destroyed by the crash in some way, right?
Yeah, they say that was destroyed.
Along
the
with
transponder wasn't working, or was never working. But they have some vet supplies, I suppose, and they don't have flares either. They have one flare.
Yeah, only one flare, and so it's pretty tough. And they're in the middle of nowhere, and they're hard to find because the last time they had signals was a long time before. But it was a long time before they were found. So where they landed. So there's just it's very difficult. And
the area is far too big for them to search. They really need to kind of know where the plane went down, so before they can even start a search. Whenever I watch things like this, like on TV, of like people missing or like in the middle of nowhere. It's like my worst nightmare. Like,
Yeah.
I just imagine like having to rely on the kind of politics of the situation of, when do we search and how do we search, and just seems like
Yeah.
such.
And there's another downed plane that they found that they thought
Yeah,
was theirs.
they thought that was theirs, which, yeah, I just keep thinking of like the family in those kind of situations of like having to stay at home, and you definitely
Yeah.
get that in this episode.
Yeah. That would be really intense. And that's what makes me nervous. People flying in these little tiny planes. Ooh. I've only ever done the only thing I've ever done like that is being in a glider plane
Mm.
that was owned by the friend of my grandfather. Um, and everything was very safe, but I got so sick because those glider planes, it's very, I mean, I'm already kind of prone to motion sickness, but the glider planes are especially just kind of moving back and forth in that way. And I did not respond well at all.
I don't think I would have either.
No, my poor sister was wedged in the back with me, and I'm getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Yeah. So never do that. I'll never do that again. But uh but yeah, these little planes make me very nervous. That just so many things can go wrong.
Yeah,
And it's not like you can halfway make it in a
no, and they
plane,
did
you
say
know?
that Scott, not his fault that this happened, but he's, hasn't been, hadn't had his license for very long either, so this would have been especially hard on him.
Yeah. Yeah. When it sounds like it wasn't fully uh vetted as far as at least the equipment and other things like that.
They did say the transporter probably wasn't working
Hmm.
at all, which, oh
Yeah.
God.
And so then Lou is upset with Peter. Peter is spending so much time away from her and has gone so much, and he has a 2-year plan, I think it was, and that if things he wants to do, and she says, you didn't mention me in your plan
Yeah.
of what you wanted. And so what do you think of Peter? Do we like Peter? Do we not like Peter?
I like Peter individually, especially this episode. I think has been his like one of his strongest episodes.
Uh-huh.
He's just like a really good guy in this episode, like really there for the family, like willing to use his own business to start a search. He's he really comes across like a good guy in this episode. I just don't think him and Lou are well matched. Their lives are so separate. They
Mm-hmm.
hardly spend any time together. They still feel like they really need to get to know each other.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so weird because it seemed like that Scott and Lou were such a good pair, and then they just got rid of that so quickly. And I don't understand what their thoughts were with that.
It just
But
feels like he's never there, or when he is there, it's like a flying visit, and it's like
mm-hmm.
a really good pair. But I just don't understand how a relationship could work when you're kind of taken off all of the time, or you're kind of have to go meet halfway somewhere,
Yeah,
or
you have to be together at least.
especially
You,
early days.
you're gonna have times where maybe you're separated in your marriage, where you're not seeing much of each other. Like if somebody is going to medical school or as a resident or whatever, they're going to be gone a lot. Other things like that, but those are just sort of time periods. This seems like his life,
Yeah,
you know. And so she's obviously concerned, and then Ty tries to find higher ground, and he tries to use the flare, um, but he's not successful. And then he comes back down, and Amy and the team decide to go after Ty. Ashley and Caleb stay behind to watch the ranch,
mm.
and I can't remember. Did you guys talk about Ashley and Caleb. Is that in this episode or I'm trying to? Oh yeah, it's in this episode. Caleb finally tells Ashley how he feels about her.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think of that?
I felt like they maybe should have saved it for like the next episode. It felt very kind of didn't get after all the kind of build up. It didn't get the time it deserved.
Right.
I felt like maybe could have just put it in the next episode, but I'm glad it's finally out there. Them dancing around each other for episodes now, it just gets so frustrating.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad it happened, but like again, they're just not my favorite pair.
Mm-hmm.
They just seem mad at each other all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I never really quite understood why she was in the right by stealing his place of living. Like that he was the one that the show was portraying as being in the wrong in that situation, having treated her badly. And I'm like, no, he's literally letting her stay at his house. Like, I just thought that was weird. So their relationship is kind of strange to me. But and also the fact that he's older than her and she's in high school, it's kind of weird. But nevertheless, we had that in this episode. And so he comes back down off of the higher ground trek, and Scott's leg is getting infected. And so he has to remove the metal and create a tourniquet and everything. And that was pretty intense. They used the horse medicine on him to try to numb the pain. And yeah, he pulls it out.
I was getting flashbacks to the Grey's Anatomy episode where they had the plane crash. It was like one of the most brutal episodes of TV ever. So yeah, Ty did a great job. He definitely kind of shown throughout these kind of episodes that he's really got what it takes to tackle really difficult situations, and you know, I don't know if I would have been able to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess adrenaline would kind of come in.
You would hope so, yeah.
And you'd probably be able to do stuff that you would normally be able to do. But I guess we as most of us as humans, we figure out a way when there's something like that. But you also have Amy. She's getting very upset because the last thing that she did with Ty was have a fight. So she's feeling very guilty. There's a whole scene with her in Ty's bed crying.
Yeah, that was sad.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, poor Amy. She's had to deal with a lot. I cut her some slack because she's had to deal with obviously losing her mother and getting injured, and yeah, there's just been a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I think we talked about in the last episode about kind of how much she's grown in this season particularly. It feels like, especially in last episode, she was unhappy justifiably that Ty kind of went off on the last day, but she didn't kind of fly off the handle the way she normally would have in kind of the previous seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like she was kind of like, okay, fair enough. But yeah, I felt bad for her in this episode.
Yeah,
like that she kind of was spending time with Harley, and kind of figured that was a way to kind of search for Ty.
Yeah, that's true. Harley is upset. Everybody's upset, and Tim says to Jack, says, "You love him," and Jack says, "Yes, he's part of the family."
Oh God, Tim really annoys me. Oh my God, like so much. This season, I don't know what it is. He just acts like a child.
Yeah, he is kind of whiny, isn't he?
The thing is, like, by the end of the episode, you cannot understand why he feels, upset, or especially in this situation where he kind of feels like Ty's kind of come in and kind of being the son that he wanted to be to Jack, but obviously that didn't work out. But it doesn't justify his behavior when he's an adult and he's acting like a teenager. Like, why don't you like me as much as you like? It just feels really really petty.
It's like, this is a serious situation. Like, we don't need that right now.
Who cares who's going to like look for Ty? As long as it gets done. It's the fact that he kind of feels like Ty's coming in and taking his place, and Peter's coming in and taking his place, and it's, well, you don't have the facilities to do that. Peter does, so like just do it.
Yeah, he's upset with Peter because he feels like he's the leader of the family all of a sudden, and it's like, no, we just have to get it done using the resources that we have. And it's hard when you have a whole bunch of natural leaders all together wanting to lead.
Yeah.
So then Scott passes out and the wolf comes. Ty builds a fire to try to be seen. And then the wolf comes, which we'll hear about later, but they just kind of a big stare down with the wolf.
Well, I'm glad the wolf didn't get any closer.
Yeah. So then also Scott says, before he passes out, he says, letting Lou go was the stupidest thing I've ever done. And we'd all agree, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Mallory does say to Caleb, says, are you in love with Ashley? And he says, yes. And he says, then don't wait. Amy wasted a whole year. And so that's when he tells her that he loves her. And we also find at the end that we find out that Lou's not pregnant. And
I didn't think she would be. I kind of guessed at the end of the last episode what I think would happen, and that just didn't seem on the cards for me at this point.
And so then they rescue them, and Ty tells Amy, the wolf looked at me. And so that was a pretty intense episode. I guess you said it was a mid-season premiere, which makes a lot of sense. But what would you give this one, 1 to 10?
I'm going to go with a 9. Accomplished everything that it wanted to do really well. A lot happening, considering that, let's say, there were only like 2 plots. But yeah, love this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll also give it a 9. It's got a 9.1 on IMDb, so pretty high. From the USA Today bestselling author of The Summer House, Jenny Hale, comes a story about finding lost loves, chasing dreams, and the people who show up when they're needed the most. The Memory Keeper is the perfect escape for fans of Susan Mallory, Debbie Macomber, and Sheila Roberts. It's a heartwarming, sweet romance that will have you laughing, crying, and best of all, hugging those around you a little tighter. If you loved the Christmas movies based on Jenny's books and are looking for more feel-good small town romance, look no further. It's available now at all ebook retailers, Amazon, Kobo, Apple Books, and Barnes & Noble. You can sign up for all the latest updates with Jenny's books on her website. It's jennyhale.com. So we'll have all the links for that in the description. Make sure you check it out. It's a really fun romantic read.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on. The next episode is called Catch and Release. And this is episode 11 of season 3. And so Ty's having these nightmares about the wolves, and he can't sleep, and about the accident. And then there's a weekend fishing trip between Jack, Tim, and Ty, and Peter. And so that has all kinds of drama.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we also have in this episode, Mallory gets kind of dumped by her friend for a new group of friends, and so she's struggling with that. So overall, what do you think of this episode?
I like this one. Like I don't think we've had a bad episode this season. A little less than the previous episode, but yeah, still pretty good. I mean, the fishing trip stuff there was some gold there.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked that. So yeah, what do you think of Ty having these flashbacks?
Yeah, understandable. I mean, he kind of had to step up and really take charge, and
Yeah.
do some things that I don't think a lot of people would think themselves capable of. So yeah, that's got to leave some scars behind. So yeah, it felt really realistic.
Yeah.
Also, we've seen Amy kind of go through this kind of thing as well.
Hmm. Yeah, he's having some major like PTSD, it seems like,
Yeah,
with this, and he's not answering Scott's calls. He's not wanting to deal with it, and but he's not able to sleep, which it just makes everything worse. That I think I read somewhere that going without sleep is like the equivalent of your brain becomes this equivalent of like taking LSD and like drugs and stuff. Like at a certain point, you are it's really bad. Like you're as in uninhibited and as you would be if you were taking drugs.
yeah, ugh, so scary.
Hmm.
I'm lucky that I don't sleep well, but this is like not even like on the radar of what I have to kind of deal with. Like
Hmm.
so much. I'm so lucky in that regard. But yeah, I would hope
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
I
I
would
have a
have to go
horrible
through
time.
something like that.
I have a horrible time getting to sleep, and have sleep problems, but at least I don't have any kind of trauma that, that's the cause. It's just, just I've always, ever since I was a little girl, I had problems with insomnia. But luckily, right now, I have a job that's very flexible.
Oh,
And so that way, that helps me to be able to get whatever sleep I can. So if I need to take a nap or, whatever, then I'm able to do it. But
yeah,
it can definitely, when I'm trying to stay awake, particularly when I used to go to movie premieres and screenings and things, and trying, if I was really tired, sometimes that can be a struggle.
yeah. I'm the same. I kind of take a nap in between of like a part-time job, and then I work
Yeah.
kind of in the morning and then kind of late evening. So I'll kind of try and take a nap in between, which
Hmm.
is good, but it also kind of messes up any attempt at a weekend because you're just tired all day.
Right.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
not got anything on going on. We're in lockdown, but
Yeah. What did you think of that whole scene where he's asleep and he ends up attacking Amy?
yeah, that was really shocking.
Mhm.
Yeah, that really kind of took me back a bit.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I think we've discussed that the show is kind of taking more risks in terms of all the stuff with Ty's mum and domestic abuse and things like that. They're definitely kind of going a bit more intense in terms of the stories, but yeah, that really sometimes it's so kind of chill and kind of family oriented, and then they'll really do something like that that kind of
Mhm.
shocks you.
Yeah, that was definitely very surprising. I mean, I've never had, even though I have all these sleep issues, I rarely have any kind of thing where I'm like woken up shockingly like that. You know what I'm saying? But like him to the way he like jolted forward was really surprising.
Yeah, and it kind of
Yeah.
grabbed her as it's like
Mhm.
his instinct was to kind of get whatever it was away from him. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
scary.
He's scared of the wolf. And so then they decide to go fishing, and Peter is really anxious. He's trying to talk to Jack. And why do you think that Peter wanted to talk to Jack rather than Tim? That's a big point of conflict.
I think he was always planning on talking to both of them, just kind of going off of the kind of guy Peter is.
Uh-huh.
But I think when it comes to like, you would maybe just save the worst to the last.
Mhm.
um, you know, I think him and Jack have definitely improved their relationship over the course of the short time they've known each other, whereas we haven't really seen Peter interact much with Tim that hasn't gone kind of disastrously. So
Sadly.
yeah, I think if I had a choice, I'd speak to Jack first.
Yeah. Well, and I think there is a feeling of almost more of a parental role of Jack with Lou than
Yeah,
with Tim in a way, which is probably what makes Tim so jealous.
yeah, yeah. It feels like Tim just bugs me. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, he is pretty bratty in these episodes, Tim.
it's been a rough season for Tim in regards to my feelings towards him.
Right. Well, also Lou and she ends up watching Peter's dog, Max, and the dog ends up finding a porcupine, and that was pretty sad.
Yeah.
Poor dog.
Luckily, we don't have things like that. Well, my dog's pretty safe in terms of what I can come into contact with in Scotland.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even
Yeah.
know they had porcupines in around Heartland. I thought that those were in like Arizona or something, like in the desert.
I've never seen one.
I've never seen
Um,
one either.
I have seen in vet shows and things like that with dogs kind of getting into
Oh.
kind of those things, and like it just looks horrific. I mean, those barbs are like really, really tough to get out.
I'm always just amazed at how on this show they're able to make it seem like the animals are in peril or hurt or injured or whatever, but obviously they don't actually injure the animals. Like, how did they do it to make it look so
I think they've
good?
kind of
It's incredible.
did pretty well in terms of Max being a St. Bernard. I mean, they're such such relaxed dogs. I mean, they're
Yeah,
not in terms of like the most kind of active in terms of energy wise.
right.
So I imagine they're a lot easier to work with in terms of getting all that kind of makeup put on them essentially.
Right.
I mean, there's no way my dog would have let any like kind of working
Yeah.
situation.
So they got a lot. They had a lot of those pricklies on him.
Yeah,
Poor
and they
dog.
kind of said that they were in his throat as well, which is horrific.
Mm-hmm.
But Scott
And
comes and saves the day.
yes, Scott saves the day. I liked also the line that Jack says, I believe, when he says, a fishing pole is a long stick with a hook on one end and a fool on the other. That was a pretty good line, I thought. Then they also have Jack brings his rifle with them because it's prime grizzly territory up there. And do we know exactly where Heartland Ranch is supposed to be? Or is it just some kind of vague place in Canada?
I think it's Alberta, but I don't really know anywhere more specific than that.
Mm-hmm.
Just going off of the fact that that's where they film it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think it takes that they're in Alberta.
So then they end up with Girls' Night Out with Amy, Lou, and Mallory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not offense. Not the greatest girls' night out ever, was it?
Yeah. And they say no talking about boys on the girls' night out. And Mallory gets ditched. She sees that her friend was lying to her, and so that's tough. I mean, it's such a hard age because she's supposed to be like what 14, 13?
Yeah, I think 14.
14. That's a tough age, man. I mean, I remember I went through my middle school years. I went through like 3 groups of friends in those years, and I feel like things become a little more stable in high school as far as your friend group, at least. But yeah, that's definitely something I could relate to. Is the friend
I
and
just
being.
had the same friends all the way through.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I think just because I come from such a small town, it's not
Uh-huh.
the smallest of towns, but we all went to the same like
Yeah.
Catholic school. And then when we went to secondary school, we had the choice between like a non-dominational kind of place or another Catholic place. And me and all of my friends decided to go to the Catholic school. So we
Mm-hmm.
all ended in together. So it was quite lucky in that sense that we all just kind of transported over.
Yeah.
So I ended up with the same group of friends through primary and secondary.
Once I was in high school, my friends, I feel like it kind of settled, and I mean my friends had been my friends before, but I don't know, I just because we were all in drama club together and doing the plays, And so that really kind of solidified us as sort of the group in high school. And
You
there
also
wasn't
just,
anything like that in middle school for
yeah,
us.
and you also just have like your school, your friends, your regular friends, like Mallory has Amy, and then you have all your kind of your high school friends, and they feel, especially for me, it was kind of separate. I'd come home
Mm-hmm.
and I'd have a different group of friends, and then I'd go to school and have a different group of friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have that a little bit because I would have my friends at church
Yeah,
and then my friends at school, which were sometimes different. So, but yeah, so Tim is being, like you said, being a baby, and he is insisting on sleeping outside the tent because he doesn't want to, like, if he's wanting Peter to trust him and invest in him, it's kind of funny that he's being such a brat about sharing the tent.
yeah, childish.
Yeah.
Feels
They
like
have
he doesn't like being kind of confronted with the reason as to why Peter would choose to speak to
right.
Jack as opposed to him. Like he doesn't like he kind of if it feels like he's kind of apologized for abandoning the girls, and he feels like we're fine now, and it's like, well, no, you kind of have to spend a long time making that right.
Yeah. So Peter asked Jack for his blessing, and basically Jack's attitude is, well, she's a grown woman, she can make up her decision for
Yeah,
herself, is kind of his attitude. And so Tim says, I always come in second to you. And then they literally like have a fight, like a fist fight.
yeah. Ty's reaction to the fight was pretty funny. It's just
Yeah,
like,
that
yeah, it's
was.
kind of a tradition at this point.
But yeah, then Ty almost shoots Jack though, because he thinks that he hears the rustling, thinks it's the wolf.
Yeah,
And so Jack tells Ty to talk to Scott. Maybe you've got to go back before you can move forward. Otherwise, it will follow you wherever you go.
yeah, I had that one written down as well. Such a great
Mm-hmm.
Jack line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really good. And so then Caleb and Ashley go on a little first date. What do you think of their first date?
It was a pretty cute first date. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Definitely scored some points with that one. But again, I just don't think they're getting enough screen time to really invest in their relationship. Just feels like we're kind of getting little snippets here and there, and I feel like if you're not already invested, then it's not enough to get invested, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. It's just kind of this little side story. It was a cute date. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it. But I just still am just sort of baffled by their relationship. So, but Amy is very worried about Ty and him not dealing with this. And Mallory says he's got a lot to deal with. Give him a break. So uh, then uh, the Lou finds the cows out of the fence, and she's very upset with Caleb because that was his job, and there's somebody coming to do an article or something like that uh,
yeah,
on the ranch, the Dude Ranch, and so all the girls get together and they bring back they gather the cattle. So it's kind of a girl power moment. The girls doing it because they can't reach Caleb because he's out on his date. I forget who said it, but if Peter still wants to be a part of this family after this weekend, then he may just be the one.
sounds like a Jack line.
Oh, yeah. And I liked the photographer that comes. He loves the cows. He's like, they should be out and about. That's funny. And he's like, bring in more cows. And Lou's like, are you kidding me? And uh, Peter is called in for more work, and she's getting so frustrated. And Mallory says to her friend, her ditching friend, she says, at least I know who my friends are. And then Ty makes a tobacco offering, and he stares down the wolf. And so he's finally, hopefully, able to overcome everything. So 1 to 10, what would you give this episode? What do you think?
I'm going to give it a 7. Yeah, not bad. Just not as good as the previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The fishing trip is kind of the strongest part of the episode. And the rest was kind of okay.
Right. I'd give it a 7.5. So a little higher, but yeah, I enjoyed it overall. All right, then we have The Reckoning is our last episode. And I have to admit, I was so tired was watching this. So if I missed anything, please forgive me. But this episode, we have everybody's kind of thinking about Marion, Amy's mom's, and her passing. The anniversary of her death is coming, and so Victor comes to the ranch, and Tim gets really upset about that, and so they're kind of what happened between Victor and Marion, and Jack and the girls are kind of in the middle of this fight between the two of them, and then you also have Kit coming back, and Ty wants Amy to work with Kit's horse to try to help. It's the one that didn't accept the orphan full, and so they're trying to work with them. And Amy feels kind of jealous because she feels like Ty will share things with Kit that he won't with her. And then we have the big moment at the end. Lou is going to be going to Paris with Peter, but then things happen, and we get the proposal at the end. So it's pretty exciting. What did you think of this episode?
I like this one. Yeah. I would say that the kind of the Tim stuff really bugged me again. Sorry, I feel like all I'm doing is complaining about Tim. So yeah, that was kind of frustrating, but I really like Victor. I feel like he's kind of a character that I hope kind of drops in every once in a while. I really like his relationship with Amy. Yeah, I like this one. I mean, I'm kind of frustrated again with the Amy and Kit stuff. It feels like it's kind of just repeating the same thing over and over. But yeah, overall strong episode again.
Yeah, because Kit kind of keeps pressing until she gets an answer, whereas Amy doesn't quite do that as much. And so like with school and with other things that she's like, how could you tell Kit and not me? And plus she's also just struggling with the anniversary of her mom's death, which makes sense.
Yeah,
That would
absolutely.
be very, very difficult. And so yeah, her Kit's horse Daisy is just struggling.
Yeah.
And yeah, Lou's going to Paris. She's very excited. She's going to be doing all of the shopping. I mean, I don't know where she's going to be wearing all this designer clothing, but she's pretty pumped. I think you're going to be wearing that around the ranch, but who knows? But have you ever been to Paris?
No, no. Well, when we can travel again,
Yeah.
I plan on going. Because it is just so easy to get to
Right.
Paris from London. So yeah, on that, like I keep saying to my friends, next time we go down to London, because we go down quite often for
Uh-huh.
like fan conventions. Like,
Yeah.
why don't we just like spend a few days in
Yeah.
Paris? Because it is just so easy.
Yeah, I've never been to Paris. I've been to France before when I was 14, so it's been a long, long time. But yeah, I've been to just a little tiny bit of France. But I still remember the food was so good. That's my main memory of France. I would love to go to Paris someday. I think that would be really fun. But yeah, she's excited. She's gonna be spending all of Peter's money. very excited about. And so she is insisting that Tim install a wood fence because she thinks that the barbed wire fence looks terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a thing going on here. And by the end, he does say, he's like, she made a good call. This looks way better.
Yeah.
Um,
Point for Tim.
yeah, at least he did something, right? And so Mallory is pretty tough on Lou, I think, in this episode. She says that since when were you a kept woman? She says, which I thought was pretty. I mean, I don't feel like her relationship is that out of the ordinary. I mean,
She's got her own business. She does her own thing.
yeah, he's gone a lot, but
If anything, our lives are quite separate.
yeah, but I wouldn't say she's a kept woman. That seemed pretty harsh. Like, geez, Mallory. Like that's strong language. Felt like. But you have Victor talks to Lou and says you're the fire in the middle of your family now. So she's the strength around everything, and then Tim and Victor get upset because Victor had a relationship with Marion, but this was long after they had separated, right?
Yeah, this is what bugs me about Tim. It's like he confronts Victor about having a relationship / friendship with Marion, and it's like, well, you left, and it's like, what did I mean? It's tragic circumstances that he left. He has an accident and became an addict and kind of abandoned
Mm-hmm.
the girls, and that's a sad situation, and he's kind of trying to make up for that now, but you can't get mad that you left. You can't expect her to kind of put everything on pause and just wait for him to come back. She got on with her life.
Yeah,
And even though she wound up kind of not being able to open up to Victor in the way that he wanted her to, that was her choice to make.
right. Yeah, Tim.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack says to Tim, Whatever happened between Marion and Victor is none of your business." And
I mean,
so yeah,
they went together. So
that's right. And so Lou gets upset because Peter is going to make this business trip, and she thought it was just going to be about them, so she's upset. But then Peter comes back uh, and he says Paris isn't where I need it to be right now. So they take part in the ceremony honoring Marion, and Victor
yeah,
does the ceremony,
yeah, it's
and
good for Amy, because she does mention that she's really struggling because it feels kind of unfinished, because we need to remember she was in the hospital when the funeral
mm-hmm,
happened.
right,
Didn't get any kind of proper closure.
mm-hmm, yeah. And so then Peter uh, and Lou are talking. Lou says, I feel like work is always going to come before me. And then Peter proposes and she accepts. So there we go. What do you think of that? What do you think of the proposal?
It was kind of anticlimactic as a proposal. And it just I felt like they were very unmatched, and then in the next breath he was kind of proposing, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I wish I kind of was able to enjoy it
A little bit more.
a little bit more. I just do feel like their lives are just very separate and different.
Right.
And I would have liked it to be in a little bit more of a moment
Yeah.
than kind of this
Um,
off the cuff proposal.
I can see that. I kind of agree. Like I'm not 100% feeling the chemistry between them. Maybe that's just because I'm still feeling like her and Scott had such good chemistry and it
Yeah.
was just sort of thrown away. I'm still holding on to that. But yeah, I mean it was just like a standard proposal. And they are obviously have so many issues that they are dealing with that it's going to be interesting to see how they progress as a couple, but that's what happened. So, what would you give The Reckoning 1 to 10?
I'm going with an 8, so just kind of in between the previous two.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel about the same on this one, actually. So I would give this one a 7.5. And so let us know if you're listening what you would give these 3 episodes, where they rank for you. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And Michelle, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm going to be covering Sundance Film Festival coming up, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And then also make sure you're following the Hallmarkies Podcast all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that so much. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our patron group, which we can talk all things Heartland. And we have our merch store. So check all of that out. We have some Heartland inspired merch. So take a look at that. And thanks so much. And we'll talk to you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.